let's get right into this review for Warfare. Alright, so Warfare is directed by Alex Garland and Ray Mendoza. Can't say I've seen any of Ray's work beforehand, but as for Alex, his most recent and notable work was on Civil War. And really, huge props to both of them for having directed together on this potent film. This was a cinematic experience that I'm glad to have been able to witness on the big screen. And to get right into it, what did I think about the overall narrative presentation here? I thought this was phenomenal. It's pretty clear that the production team behind the scenes knew exactly the story they wanted to tell and how they wanted to go about telling it. This might be one of the most raw and visceral depictions of war I've seen in modern film that was able to have such a tight grip on me as a viewer until the very end. Whether it's because of the incredible acting from the entire cast, the fantastic cinematography, the impeccable soundscape, and a sense of dreadful realism from its slow burn pacing. There's just so many elements that work in the film's favor, so let me explain in more details as to why. Starting off, even with a runtime on the shorter side of 1 hour and 35 minutes, I honestly thought the story here felt quite a bit longer, maybe closer to 2 hours. And I say that in a good way. The film represents the hellish qualities of war and the toxic chaos of it all so incredibly well that the pivotal and climactic moments felt a hell of a lot more tense and emotionally elongated, making the viewing time feel dreadfully diluted. Everything about the dragged on story presentation from acts 1 to 3 felt meaningful, and I barely found there to be a need to further shave or chop scenes off at the editing block. Also, the entire cast does a remarkable job in portraying each of their characters, which definitely helped maintain the slow burn pacing as well. With any loose link in terms of acting abilities, I think the story could have taken a significant dip for the worse, but all of them definitely had their moments within the narrative to further immerse you into this experience. So props to the entire cast. And really the cinematography and soundscape just holds everything together nicely. From visuals to sound effects, all of it felt methodically placed and timed in terms of creating the most impact within the storytelling. This was a clean yet brutal viewing experience that kept me engaged until the very end. And truly, the soundscape presentation is masterful. Some of the pivotal sound effects were definitely loud at the beginning, and at first, I thought my theater ramped up the volume way too much by accident. But as I was about halfway through the film, I noticed that the film never had its audio peak that loudly again. That's when I had a smile on my face as I realized the reason for the sound being a bit toned down is because the soldiers in the story were starting to get used to all the gunshots and loud explosions happening by the latter half of the film. Little things like that are really awesome details that just elevated my viewing experience to the next level. So kudos to the entire production team that worked on this film. My final score for Warfare ends up being 9.5 out of 10. This is definitely a worthy cinematic experience, and with this film capturing a series of recollection from actual veterans who were there boots on ground, I believe a narrative story can't get any realer than this. As the movie title suggests, Warfare does its main job of effectively representing a glimpse of what war can look and feel like. And really, that experience comes through loud and clear, and the story wraps up nicely from start to finish. So if you were interested already by the trailers, I don't think you'll end up disappointed by this film. Anyways, thanks for checking this review out. Hit that like button and subscribe, and I hope to see you on my future uploads. But until then, peace.